Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavagai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Vaktum Subodha Vedantam Pravruto Hyabudopyaham Kripaya Yasya Tam Vande Shri Ganesham Punah Punah Vande Saraswatim Devim Sadgurum Me Mahamatim Sita Sameta Shri Ramam Yachantu Shubhadam Matim. Daivi Hyesha Gunatmika Daivi Hyesha Gunatmika Prabhumaya Duratyaya Prabhumaya Duratyaya Aham Mameti Rupasa Aham Mameti Rupasa Mithya Bhoga Pralobhika Nitya Bhoga Pralobhika. The Lord's Maya is divine. It is made of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, and is difficult to cross over. It expresses as I and mine and the craving for illusory material objects.
So our topic is on this most elusive, tricky, but somewhat central. One of the central themes of Vedanta is this thing called Maya. Maya. And this Maya comes up many places. This Maya is important for us to understand, and it helps us tremendously in our journey, because it is this Maya that we have to overcome. Now, I said last week that when you look at anything, you can look at it from different angles. And when you look at it from different angles, it looks completely different. Yeah. I said you can look at this book and it looks like it's taking up the entire screen there, or my entire face. But then if I put it like that, it barely looks like it's covering anything. Put it like this, not much. So same object, but different angles appears very differently. This is how we have to understand Maya. Because whenever we read descriptions of Maya, it becomes very confusing, because you say, wait a minute, you just said it was like this and now you're saying it's like that. Sometimes Maya is given positively, sometimes Maya is given negatively. Yeah. So therefore, in order to understand how the Shastra uses this word Maya, we will look at all the different types of definitions of Maya. Okay. So Guruji's commentary has got tremendous amount, and I've just tried to put a quick summary. So a quick summary of 10 different ways in which Maya is seen is here. So these are the 10 different ways in which Maya is seen. You can write this down, otherwise take a copy of it somehow. Number one, it is seen as the Lord's power to create, sustain, and destroy the world, dissolve the world. You know, the word destroy is too strong. You could put dissolve. In Sanskrit, it is called laya, pralaya. Yeah. So this is one way in which Maya is seen. Now you see, this first one is a very positive way, because through the Lord and his Maya, he creates. Atma Mayaya. Bhagavan says in 4th chapter of the Gita, how do you create these worlds? Prakritim swamadishtaya sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Yeah? So by using my own Maya, I create these worlds. So here it is understood as the Lord's power to create. Second one, it is divine. That's why the word Devi is used. Devi means divine. That means it belongs to God. It cannot be wielded by other people. Belongs to him, but he is not dependent on it. Okay. I'll go through each one in detail, but now this third, Trigunatmika, it has got the 3 gunas. That's what it's made out of. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Fourth, indescribable. Why? Because it's beyond the intellect. That's why we get confused. Fifth, even though indescribable beyond the intellect, known via its effects. Sixth, illusion. 7, expresses as I and mine. 8, is temptation, expresses as temptation for illusory objects. 9 represents all obstacles. And 10, difficult to overcome. The word duratteya is given. You keep writing, I'll explain. So in the first one, Lord's power to create. So we must understand, we've seen this before, the Lord here, Ishvara. Ishvara is different to Nirguna Brahman, which is pure consciousness. Pure consciousness does not create anything. Because in pure consciousness, Nirguna Brahman, there is no world to create. Pure consciousness, Satchit Ananda Bas. That's it. When all of a sudden pure consciousness decides it wants to create, or creation starts taking place, then it's dormant. It's a dormant strength, capacity. Its dormant strength and capacity will start expressing. This is when Nirguna Brahman is now called Saguna Brahman. It is now called Saguna Brahman. This we've seen before when we took the topic of God. Yeah? Nirguna Brahman becomes Saguna Brahman when it takes up its Maya Shakti, power to create. With that Maya Shakti, said, now I am going to create. And I think I gave the example of the singer. I think the singer, I gave that example. Lady is sitting there and then all of a sudden, I want to sing. In order to sing, she must now use her power of speech and her gift of singing. So that gift of singing, that power of speech, that is her Shakti. In this way, Maya is Ishvara Shakti. It's a power for him. For Ishvara, it is Shakti. In Bhagavatam, when we read, then we'll see that Bhagavan wanted to take avatar. He uses Yoga Maya. In many of the Krishna avatar Leelas, you will find that he uses Yoga Maya to do things. We were just reading and it said after Mathura was being sacked, he decided to build Dwaraka, and in order to transport the people, he used Yoga Maya Shakti. That means with his power, he just transported them. It means it denies all our scientific phenomenon. It's that powerful. So this is number 1. In this number 1, it is seen in a positive light. It is a positive thing. So here you must understand, number 1, it is positive. Number 2, divine, Devi. Now, divine means it can be wielded by God and God alone. It cannot be wielded by other people. Yeah. So Devatas cannot wield Maya. In fact, no one else can wield that Maya. Therefore, Lord alone is the Pati of Maya. He called Maya Pati. Everyone else from Brahmaji down, including Brahmaji, is Maya Das, slave of Maya. That means we can be fooled by Maya. Bhagavan can never be fooled by Maya. That thing is also seen in Krishna Leela, where Brahmaji himself becomes deluded. and then Krishna has to correct him. So it belongs only to the Lord, no one else. And the other thing to note is God is not dependent on this Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti dependent upon him. Because in Sankhya philosophy, what you hear, you may have heard of a philosophy called Sankhya Darshan. In Sankhya Darshan, they believe Purusha and Prakriti are two independent individuals, entities. Purusha is consciousness, Prakriti is Maya. And they believe them to be two independent, like matter and consciousness. And they think one conditions the other. And the idea is they are currently intermixed, they should be separated. That's their goal. This is not the standpoint of Vedanta. Vedanta says consciousness is the substratum of everything. In that consciousness, this power exists. The power cannot be separated from consciousness. Just like you cannot take the singer's ability to sing and put it away from the singer. It has to reside in that person. The person is there and their ability to sing, but it resides in that person. It is not different to that person. You can't take it out and put it in a box. Yeah. So it belongs to God, but God is not dependent upon it, because God can exist without it, but God can also use it. So that must be clear. Then Trigunatmika. Okay. Now I'll just drop this screen. I think you've all written it down. Trigunatmika means made out of the three gunas. Three gunas, I think we saw that last week. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So now if you want to know what is it constituted of, it's these three gunas. How will it exert its influence upon the world? Through the three gunas. The main aspect of that tamo guna is avaranam. Avaranam means covering, concealing, deluding, confusing. Like, always think like a veil of darkness. That's why tamas is given the color black. Because like darkness, if you try to see something in the darkness, it's very obscure. You're never quite sure what it is. Yeah? So in darkness, we can't quite see what is happening out there. So there is obscuring, veiling, covering, concealing. That is all tamogun. So you have to look in your own life, things that you are confused about, things that are not clear to you. That means tamoguna is in action. Tamoguna is in action. Yeah, there are issues in our life that are not quite clear. I try to think about it, but I don't get the answer. Yeah, I mean, tamoguna is there. Rajogun activity. Vikshepa, it is called. Vikshepa means to throw, project. So a lot of projections. Yeah. In tamoguna, there are not too many projections. It's Rajoguna has also projections. Tamoguna is the veiling. Rajoguna is the projection. You start seeing things which are not there. Imagination running wild is called Rajogun. When we start projecting things which are not, they're not in front of us, but we are now imagining them. Oh. That's Rajogun. We have this a lot because we have projected concepts of happiness in objects which cannot deliver it. Yeah? So when we look at our life, sometimes what we call our dreams, like our life dreams, things we want to achieve. It's okay, you can have life dreams, but concept of permanent happiness coming from them is a problem. That becomes a problem. That means you can have that dream, you can have that goal, but understand it's not the end. After that, you have to keep on working. But sometimes what we do is we have the notion that if I get this, done, bas, finished, everything over. If I get my children married, oh, family life is done, completed. No, after that, they will come to you and say, now, look after my children. We are creating children, and we're not going to look after them. You have to look after them. Why are we looking after your children? So it can continue on. It can continue on. So this Rajogun projection, seeing things which are not there. Even in all our interactions, there is levels of projection going on. Rarely do we see an object as it is. And rarely do we see a person as they are. When I say object, I mean person as well. Rarely do we see people as a, when we see a person, we always see that person colored by our past interactions with them, or future expectations upon them. So I look at that person and I see future expectations. I look at my little child and I say, this one is going to become a doctor. Oh, and so when I look at that child, I say, how are you going to be a doctor when you're so lazy like this? Come on, get out of bed. Child is just child only. It's just saying, can't I sleep in? But you are looking at it saying, no, you have to become a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire. And with this type of sleeping attitude you have, you'll never get there. Then you're not looking at the child. You're looking now at your expectation of that child. Past, we look at people that have hurt us. And when we see them, face becomes very clenched, body becomes very tight. And then we say, these people, why do we have to go meet them? That's why in many cultures, it is said that the festival time is quite a stressful time for people. In the West, they say Christmas is a bit of a stressful time for people. I didn't know this, but Christmas is very stressful because they have to meet all their family. Then meeting all the family is very stressful. But I thought maybe there's a problem in their culture. Then I said, no, our culture is the same thing. Weddings are the same problem. Our weddings are very stressful for people. Why? Because all family members are coming, which you're very nervous about meeting. People that you've tried to keep a good distance away from, that cousin brother who borrowed all this money for an investment and never returned it. These type of issues come up. So all this is projection. This is Rajogun. And in that projection, then all of a sudden, we are not seeing things as they are. Now, to see things as they are, Sattva Gun. So Sattva Gun is primarily known for Vivek Shakti. Vivek Shakti, separating the false from the truth. So it is saying what is Satyam and what is Mithya. Mithya means illusion. What is Satyam? And sees the Satyam. That Vivek we have seen a lot. Atma, Anatma, Shreya, Preya, Dharma, Adharma, Sadhya, Sadhana, all these type of things we have seen. That is what we call clarity. We call clarity. Clarity of thinking is Sattva Gun. Okay, Sattva Gun. Now, like I said, we looked at that in detail last week as well, gave more things. And Vivek Chudamani, verses 110 to 120, got a lot of qualities to help you understand. Now, these three gunas put together is what makes Maya. So Maya is made out of these three gunas. Okay, Trigunatmika. Okay. Then next one on the list, Anirvachaniyam, cannot be understood. Yeah, indescribable. I think the word I use is indescribable. So indescribable means what? Something that you can describe means it is something your intellect can grasp. That's what it means by describable. In Sanskrit, they use the word vachaniyam. Vachaniyam can be expressed in words. Vachaniyam. Maya is called anirvachaniyam. Anirvachaniyam. Yeah. Cannot be expressed in words. Okay. Now, Why can't it be expressed in words? Sometimes we feel this is a problem of Maya. This is not a problem of Maya. This is a problem of the intellect. The intellect has got limited capacity. And this is where, as seekers, many times as seekers of Vedanta, we fail. Because we think everything can be explained. And we think everything should be explained. And if you don't explain it, it's illogical. And if it's illogical, it doesn't make any sense and therefore doesn't exist. Now, this is a conditioning we have because of our education system. Our education system has basically said, if you cannot understand something, it is rubbish, superstition, this, and the other. Now, this is a wrong way of thinking. Because if you take this premise that for something to be real and valid, it must be understood and explained, then any concept beyond the intellect is now no longer real or valid. Correct? So if you say what is real and valid must be explained by the intellect, so only if intellect can explain it, it's real and valid. Any object that exists beyond the intellect now becomes unreal, invalid. That's why a lot of people don't believe in God, because God exists beyond intellect. They say, oh, cannot understand by intellect? No. Can prove. We use the word prove. We use the word prove a lot. Prove this. Prove means bring it under the purview of my intellect. Now the problem is you're assuming the intellect is all powerful. And the intellect is not all powerful. The intellect has got dramatic, catastrophic limitations to it. Yeah. We know our intellect can only operate in the field of time and space. Because beyond time and space, it doesn't understand anything because it exists in that field. So it can only understand the paradigm of, only operate within the field of time and space. Therefore, if you have a concept which is outside of time and space, intellect will never be able to, never be able to understand. So if you ask, can you ever understand God? You will never be able to understand God. Never. Doesn't matter how far technology goes, it will never understand God. Bhagavan himself has written 5,000 years ago, that you will not understand me via your intellect. Yeah. The buddhir agamyam, cannot be known by the buddhi. Don't think technology is going to catch up. Now, the interesting thing is, many times because we are aligned with science and technology, and we use that as our basis for establishing reality, then we get very excited when science has some breakthrough, and we think that breakthrough now is proving God. That's why we read some article, and they say, ho, 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 scientists have now found the God particle. God particle. Very good. I mean, God exists. Why? Because the scientists found God. God doesn't exist because the scientists found God particle. God exists because you have to do thinking. And through your thinking, inference. And then through your inference, finally, you'll have to move towards Shraddha. God doesn't exist because of God particle. Yeah? So this is a limitation in our own thinking we must be aware of. Will anyone ever understand Maya? No. Will anyone ever understand God? No. It will never happen. Yeah? Never. Because the objects, Maya and God, exist outside the realm of the intellect. The intellect is not allowed to operate in this realm. It has got no capacity to operate in this realm. In this way, there's always a mystery about Maya. There's a mystery about Maya. And so we keep asking questions. When you keep asking questions, finally you come to Maya only, just Maya. And then you feel very dissatisfied. How can you can't just explain everything by saying Maya? Come on, I want some sort of real explanation. No, Maya. You know, when we talk about sometimes the mind, people go, where is this thought coming from, Swamiji? And then okay, go back to this belief pattern. They go, where is this belief pattern coming from, Swamiji? And then they keep going back, and then finally say it's a vasana. They say, where is this vasana coming from? Maya only. That's it. And Swamiji, this is a very dissatisfying response, Swamiji. I'm trying to understand my reactions to life are coming from my thoughts. My thoughts are coming from my belief. My belief is coming from vasana. Where is vasana coming from? Maya. And explain that Maya cannot explain. Oh, Swamiji, this is your get out of jail free card. Every time you have a problem, you just say Maya. So any student asks a tricky question, Maya. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work all the time, okay? You have to know what you're talking about. Your children ask a question and say, explain Hinduism, Maya. Explain why do we need to do this ritual, Maya. Why do we need to go to temple, Maya. You can't do that. You have to have some explanation. But the ultimate cause being Maya. Intermediary causes you should know how to explain. Ultimate cause comes down to Maya because intellect is a product of Maya. This is the reason. Intellect is a product. Maya is the cause, intellect is the effect. Effect never understands the cause in its totality. Yeah? Because effect is a limited version of the cause. Gold and then gold ring. The gold can become anything, but once it's made into a ring, it's a ring only. That's it. So the ring is a limited version of gold. But the lump of gold, anything can come out. Once it's made into a ring, you can't make it into a chain after that. It's too small. Yeah. So limited version. Maya is the unlimited potential. Intellect becomes finite expression. We now have this intellect and we have to use it. But we should not take the intellect to be supreme. The intellect understand its place. Its place is to help you understand intermediary causes, but intellect can never understand ultimate cause. Its own cause, it cannot understand. It's like asking a child, do you remember your own birth? Child doesn't remember its own birth. It doesn't remember. After that, it can understand things. You can retrace. We can be adults and we can say, my adult thinking is based on my childhood, what do you call experiences? But now, can you remember your birth? That I don't. Effect cannot understand fully the cause. Okay? So, this is why this word anirvachaniyam is given to Maya. And some people find it very dissatisfying, but I've done my best to explain that the reason you find it dissatisfying is because you have taken sides with the intellect and you think the intellect is supreme. I have found, I've read different philosophies. In all philosophies, their ultimate causes finally become very inexplicable. They don't have explanations for it. Yeah? So any philosophy, see, we study Advaita Vedanta. And in Advaita Vedanta, you find other schools of thoughts will complain about this. They'll say this Maya Shakti, Shankaracharya hides behind this Maya Shakti and doesn't explain things. Yeah? I then studied this other one, Vishishta Dvaita and Dvaita and all that, and I found they do the same thing. They just have a different name for it. They call it God's power. And they say God's power, you're not allowed to question. It is God's power only, you cannot question. I say it's the same thing only. God's power, we call Maya only. You call it God's power. And then you say, do not question God's power because he can do whatever he wants. He's infinite. Okay, same problem arising. In all philosophies, the ultimate cause will never be able to explain because the ultimate cause exists beyond intellect. So it's a limitation of the intellect, not a problem with the philosophy. You must understand that. Yeah. So don't become discouraged or dissuaded. Okay. Now, when we say indescribable, you must also understand that doesn't mean it cannot be known in any way. It can be known, but it is known indirectly. It is not known directly. That means its effects can be known. And from the effects, you can infer the nature of the cause. Infer, but you cannot directly perceive. I'll give a good example of this. Gurudev gives in Manual of Self-Unfoldment, where he talks about the river and the river bed. So the river bed, that means the carving in the earth. The groove in the earth is called the riverbed. Then the water flows down that, rain, glaciers melting, and that water then finds its way into that groove. Yeah. Then the water flows because of the river. Now, when you look at the river, you can see it flows in this direction, then turns and goes into another direction, and then sudden dip, and then sometimes wide and flat, sometimes turbulent. You can see all the different aspects of the river, but can you see the river bed? The river bed cannot be directly seen. Why? It's covered by water only. But by watching the water, you can infer what is the nature of the bed. If the river is all of a sudden going in this direction, that means the groove in the earth has gone in that direction. The riverbed has gone in that direction. If the river is flat and placid, then that means the riverbed is also flat. If the water, a lot of white water is there, rough, turbulent, that means the riverbed is very uneven. There's sudden drops, there's sudden descents. It is not smooth. So you can't see the riverbed, hence it is directly unknown, but it can be inferred through its expressions or effects. In the same way, we cannot see Maya directly or our vasanas directly. So this Maya is expressing as our vasanas. We cannot see our vasanas directly, but we can see the nature of the thought, the texture of the thought. Is it sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic? We can see the nature of the emotion, sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. We can see the nature of our behavior, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. From that, you infer this is the vasana. Yeah, this is the vasana. So, although not directly perceived, it can be inferred. Yeah. So it's not completely hidden. It is not completely hidden. It can be known, but known through inference only. Okay, so that's what it means by that. Now, what number is that? That number is number 5. Now, number 6. It is illusion. Okay. Now, this again is connected to this Rajoguna. In this Rajogun, we said Vikshepa takes place, projection. And one way of looking at Maya is that which makes things appear as they are not. That which makes things appear as they are not. Or another way, Maya is that Ya Ma Sa Maya. In Sanskrit, it means that which is not. That which is not there. That is called Maya. So if I'm seeing something but it's not actually there, that's called Maya. These are called illusions. Now, we have optical illusions. Optical illusions, when you see something but it's not actually there. So optical illusion, blueness of the sky, optical illusion. There's no actual blueness out there, but we think sky is blue. Sky is actually clear. Space has got no color, but rays of the sun are refracted via gravity, and then blueness comes. Then flatness of the horizon. We think horizon is flat. It's an optical illusion. But horizon is, Earth is not flat. Earth is round. Although recently I found that there are some people who still believe Earth is flat, but that's okay. That's their prerogative if they want to do that. But apparently some groups still exist that believe Earth is flat. So for them, it all makes, that's not an optical illusion. So if you belong to that group, if you're subscribed to that Facebook group, the group that believes Earth is flat, then this example doesn't work for you, okay? But if you believe the world is round, then seeing the horizon as flat, optical illusion. Rainbow. Now you might see rainbow today. Some raining and shine is going on. Yeah. Rainbow is what? A colorful arc in the sky. A colorful arc in the sky. And you know, in Western culture, they had this thing that at the end of the rainbow, there's a pot of gold. I don't know if you've heard of this. This is in the culture, they had this. A pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Now, what that shows is ultimate illusion. Chasing something which you can never get. It doesn't exist. First of all, you can never get close to the rainbow. As you go closer to the rainbow, it keeps proceeding further and further on. Because the rainbow doesn't exist as an object there. Again, refraction of light in water droplets. Yeah? So as you walk towards the rainbow, you don't get closer to the rainbow. Then the concept of a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is to show you keep chasing something which is not there. It's not there. It doesn't exist. This becomes a lot about our life. Our life is kind of chasing this thing which is not actually there. That's why if we are looking for permanent happiness in an impermanent world, then it is chasing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's the illusion. If you're happy with joys, temporary joys, that you can get from this world. This world can definitely give you temporary joys. But if you want permanent happiness, that becomes a problem. You know, there's very good literature. If you read some literature, novels and books and classics, they sometimes have this as the theme. I remember when we grew up, and this one still stuck with me. It was an Australian book, actually. It's called The Summer of the 17th Doll. I think it's a bit of a small book, not very well known, Australian author. But we studied it, and I didn't really understand it. But then when they gave the message to it, it just somehow had a big impact. The book, it talked about these two couples. The men were not farming hands. They had to go north and they had to work on a farm. And then they would come back and they would meet these two ladies. Now, they weren't married. Neither of the couple were married. They were kind of girlfriend, boyfriend type of things. Now, they did this for 16 years that they would go. And the same routine was done. The two men would go, I think they went for 9 months and then come back. And in 3 months, they would spend a good time with the ladies. And it was very like holiday type of, nice atmosphere. And this couple of 4 people got along extremely well. Yeah. And this went for a long period. And then on the 17th year, things changed. That one of the couples had a fallout and they're no longer seeing each other. And now when they all got together, there was this awkwardness because these two people didn't talk. And then this lady had brought another friend in. So she brought another male person companion that she's now seeing. The new boyfriend. Quite juicy, actually. But she brought a new boyfriend in. And the book actually talks about this 17th season when things just became very awkward amongst everyone. And the couple that's still together, you feel a lot of their frustration because they're like, why can't things be the way they were? Why can't things be the way they were? And this is an ultimate illusion that we all have in relationships. We have this illusion in all relationships. When they change in their dynamics, we get upset. And we often get caught wondering, why can't it be like the way it was? Everyone has some tension with someone at some point in time, and it changes that relationship. And we get very affected, and we keep thinking, why can't we go back to the way things were? That's illusion. That's illusion. The notion that these relationships will remain in their same nature, illusion. I think it happens, in family obviously it happens a lot, yeah? And especially when you become, that 40 plus, 45, you start finding children start changing a lot, become teenagers. When children become teenagers, then the nature of that relationship changes. I was just talking to someone who's very interesting. He was a tradesman. I had a very good conversation with him. He's quite a wise man, actually. I like him. And he told me, he said, he was talking about his niece or something. He said, the niece is very young, very cute. And she said, you only have about 10 to 12 years. Then after that, they're going to go away. After that, 10 to 12 years, they'll go. And then they come back an adult. And so after that, your interaction with them is very different. He said, after you can't hug them and cuddle them and pinch their cheeks and all that. They don't want to come near you and all that type of stuff. And he said, I want to meet them now because now the child is young. But he said, you don't have much time. That child isn't going to change. And that's it. That's gone. That aspect of that relationship is gone. I enjoyed his wisdom. He understood the whole situation very well. Yeah. That you've only got a small period of time to enjoy the nature of that relationship. The relationship will continue on, but its nature will change. Many times we do not prepare ourselves for these changes. And because we don't prepare ourselves, we are very much caught off guard when things change. And someone in that relationship will change it, one person or the other. And if you're the one, it's frustrating actually for both. For the one trying to change the relationship, they feel the other person is not responding, frustration. And for the other one that's sitting there saying, no, why are you changing things? They don't understand why you are changing things. Everything was so nice, why are you changing it now? Yeah. I think this is the ultimate illusion that we all suffer as human beings, is this illusion that our connection with people and the relationship remains the same. Yeah. Because permanent, you see, a concept of permanence is projected. So on the Jagat, it's called Jagati Satya Buddhi in technical language, Jagati Satya Buddhi. That means on the Jagat, there is a notion of permanence. It will always be like this. If you can see through this veil, it's very exciting because it makes you think. It makes you think. One, let me appreciate the relationship that is there now. But two, you should be thinking, what future relationship dynamics do you want to have? I was dealing with some counseling with a person. They had a bit of a fallout with some friend. And, they're telling me they're doing everything to reconcile it, but the friend doesn't want to reconcile. And I said, and their basic thing is, why I want to get things back to the way they were. That's what they wrote. They wrote, I want to get things back to the way they were. And I wrote to them and I said, you can't get things back the way they were. You're trying to relive the past. It's not possible. But I said, what you're failing to see is that you can create something new. You don't have to abandon this relationship, but you can create something new. But have you thought about that? Have you thought about what new thing do you want? Or are you sitting there just dwelling on the past that you're trying to recapture, which is a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow? You'll never find it. When I said that, he got very excited. He said, good, Swamiji, now I feel I can create what I want. I said, yes, you have the power to create whatever you want. Yeah. So if you are thinking, what type of relationship I want to have with this person and how these dynamics will change. And if you are thinking what type of relationship, you can create that. But if you get stuck just in thinking, how to relive the past, how to get back what is gone. You will find you're living in a past which cannot be revived, and you're losing the present. You're losing the present moment at the same time. So therefore, always think ahead. That what do I want? And then how do I use the present to create that? Things are always changing, always changing. That is the nature. So Maya is this illusion that this Jagat is permanent. Things will always be the way they are. No, they won't. Things will never be the way they are. Gurudev, he had a nice statement. Change is the only changeless law. That's it. Change is the only changeless law. But you can positively embrace that change by being very proactive, not in action, in thinking. What I find people lack is knowing what they want. Once people know what they want, I find they invariably go after it. But people don't know what they want a lot of the time. That's why it gets very confusing, and that confusion then bewilders them, stumps them. You know what you want, it's easy. Let's go get it. Yeah, so now that illusion, okay, Maya as illusion. And you see how it's playing out in our life? That's the point, to see how it's playing out in our life. Now, another one. Maya expresses as I and mine. Now this Guruji has put in the comment in the verse. Yeah, aham mameti rupa sa Maya. That Maya, rupa, has the form of aham, I am. Mama, this is mine. So this is a bit subtle. This talks about a concept of identification. Identification is the concept. I and mine means identification. Identification means you have incorrectly assumed the identity or form of something which is not you. It is not you, but you have taken it up and you said, it is me. So whatever you say, I am this, whatever that this is, that's your identification. That's identification, simply put. I am man, I am woman, identification. I am mother, I am father, identification. I am boss, I am employee, identification. I am rich, I am poor. I am short, I am tall. All these things, identifications. I am happy, I am unhappy, identification. I am confused, I am clear, identification. Identification with different things. So we have identification with body, mind, intellect, vasanas. This generally is called the I. This is what we call the I. So when I say I am tall, that is identification with body. All nationality, all jati, or what do you call your caste, all these community and caste, all to do with body. All to do with body. Yeah. I am born in this part of India, so I am this person, Tamilian, Malayali, Telugu, Marwadi, all the different things, Gujarati. These are all connected to body only. It's body identification. Yeah. Short, tall, thin, stout, dark, fair, dark and fair. That's always a bit of an issue sometimes in all communities, not just our community, but dark and fair in all communities is an issue. People always like being fair. Be fair. Fair and lovely. Be fair. Lovely you should be. Fair is optional. You should be lovely. But fair is optional. Fair and lovely. So these are all identification with body. You can't say mind is fat. You can't say mind, oh, your mind is very fat today. Your mind is looking a bit overweight. You can't say that. Body is overweight. You can't say mind is overweight. Mind is having cholesterol problems. No, body has cholesterol problems. Now with mind, what is the identification? Identification with mind is happy, sad, jealous, angry, confused, anxious, don't like Dan Andrews. All these type of things in mind. Yeah. So sick of lockdown. When is it? Tomorrow, hopefully he'll announce something. We don't know. Tomorrow, day after, something like that. Hope they get rid of this 5 kilometers. Mind. Frustrated. Yeah. So when an emotion passes through the mind, you identify with. In between, there's another one. Between mind and intellect, it's called prana is there. Prana, hunger and thirst. Hunger and thirst belong to prana. This is something we experience a lot nowadays. Hunger and thirst. Sitting at home the whole time. We have a lot of illusions and imaginations about being hungry when we're not actually hungry. We're just sitting there going, yeah, I think I'm hungry now. Something. Someone is talking to me. There's no one else in the room. Must be this chap. Go get something to eat. Okay. I will obey your command. Yeah? So that hunger and thirst is prana. Emotions, sukha, dukkha, kama, krodha, irsha. All this is mind. Intellect. Intellect, the dharmas, the qualities of the intellect, clarity, confusion. Yeah? Being obstinate also, fixed, very fixed in its thinking, rigid, yeah, dull, disinterested. Some people disinterested in learning anything. That belongs to the intellect. Yeah. So these are all. Now, when I identify with the intellect, I identify with these qualities. Yeah. And so if I consider myself to be smart, but someone say you're not that sharp actually. Okay, but not that good. That's why if people make fun of the school and education you had, you get very upset. That's intellectual identification. They say, oh, that college, it's okay, but not the best actually. Now, this college has surpassed that college. I am proud Melbourne University alumni. And actually, Melbourne University is not that good. Now, Monash is much better actually. I think you went to the wrong one. Don't say that. We get offended. Yeah. So that's what I have. Ivy League. You know Ivy League? I think Stanford and all these places. Then if you go there, Harvard. I'm a Harvard boy, Harvard man. That's a big thing. Right? Intellectual identification. Intellectual identification. Harvard man. So we get offended and affected when people make comments about this. Vasana, sattva, rajas, tamas. Yeah, sattva, rajas, tamas. So when you identify, you take one of these things and you say it's me. In reality, who are you? Pure consciousness. And as that pure consciousness, what is your nature? Mano buddhi ahankara chitta naham naham. I am not mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. None of these things. I am beyond all gunas. I am nirgunam, nishkriyam, nishkalam. So I am that pure consciousness which is asangoham. Asangoham. Not attached, not connected, therefore not identified with any of this body, mind, intellect, vasana. I am none of these things. Then why, as pure consciousness, do I feel that I am body, mind, intellect? What is the cause? Maya. Maya is the cause. Oh, okay. Maya is the cause. So that is called identification, which leads to I am. The second aspect is, once you've established I am something, then whatever is connected to that something is called my possession. So now I say, I am the body, mind, intellect. Now anything connected to this body, mind, intellect, I say is mine. My children, my people, my relatives. Now you see, this is a big problem that Arjuna has in the Gita. In the Gita, you see chapter 1, it's very interesting to see the language of Arjuna. Although he is a warrior, fighting on the side of righteousness. So he's a Dharma Yodha. Yodha means warrior. He's a Dharma Yodha. But he's not seeing himself that way. So if you look at the chapter 1 of the Gita, this is an exercise you can do. You should look at all the references in chapter 1 as to how Arjuna identifies with his family. That's why he has problems. He uses a word, swajanam. Swajanam. Janam, people. Swajanam, my own people. He uses that to address the enemy. How can I fight with swajanam? Then how can I fight with my gurus? When you're on the battlefield, they're no longer your gurus now. They are part of enemy only. So his identification is completely wrong. It's completely wrong. Instead of seeing him as forces of dharma versus forces of adharma, he sees it as me fighting my people. And that's why he gets very confused. You should do that as an exercise. You will see the language of Arjuna clearly shows his level of confusion. And Krishna just watching and listening, watching and listening. Language is very interesting. When people talk, you will find out what they're identified with. Our football team won. Oh, my team won again. My team. Are you the owner? Unless you're the owner of that team with millions and billions of dollars, how is it your team? Yeah, but I say, my team. We won. We won. What was your role in the whole thing? Oh, sitting on the couch, watching TV and eating popcorn. Oh, and with that, you helped the team win. Oh, you are an outstanding player. Yeah, must have had a lot of training. Yes, 20 years of sitting on the couch and eating popcorn. I've become one of the best players in that team. So say, we won, identification is there. That's why I'm sure in the office place, they'll know. When you talk about India versus Australia in the cricket, you say, who said we won? Then you will know who identified with whom. Yeah, then we know who sides with whom. It's very clear, all these. And then the football teams. See, having a football team is important in Victoria. You must back some big football team. And then if you just say the team won, what the team won? We won. Oh, now you're part of us. You're part of us. Yeah. These are all subtle ways in which we project this concept of minus. This belongs to me, connected to this body. Yeah. These things are very binding factors. So I is the cause, mind is the effect, Maya ultimate cause. So Maya then leads to I-ness, aham, then leads to minus, mama. Yeah. Now look at anything you possess. Anything that you claim you possess, guess what happens? You eventually get in problems. You have troubles with it. Anything that you claim you possess, eventually that object will go somewhere else. If it's inanimate, someone else will want to borrow it. And then you'll be very hesitant. No. Hey, I'm just going to fill up the car. Can I take your jacket? My jacket? Why take my jacket only? Don't take my jacket. Take your own jacket. No, but just it's here only. I want to take it. Yeah. Or can I take, some people have their own sets of keys and all that, you know? I'll take your keys and just go. You take keys, you lose everything only. Leave that here. Huh? Some people have their own cup they drink from. And the other people should not drink from the cup. Huh? And then some people chair. This is my chair. Because they're such avid cricket players, they have created a beautiful indentation in that chair, which is completely aligned to their prakriti, the nature of their prakriti. So perfectly aligned. This is my chair because cushion is made. But when people sleep together on the bed, the double bed, they have one side of the bed. They say, my side, your side. It's a bed only, meant to sleep on it. Then my side and your side, isn't it? People get used to that. All these interesting. So my becomes a problem. My will always cause problems. Yeah, this is where problems start. When you claim ownership, if it's inanimate, eventually you will not share it with people. So they'll become frustrated with you. Say you're very miserly, you don't share things. If the object is not inanimate, animate object, person, try claiming ownership of a person and see what happens. They'll sit there and claim that you're a slave owner. They'll say, we're not slaves anymore. That was abolished a long time ago. What type of thinking that you are, I am not belonging to you. And they'll be the one that turns around and says, I don't belong to you. And then you get very offended. Oh, you were so close. No, I don't belong to you. I am my own person. Best. So you find this minus causes problems everywhere. Possessiveness of inanimate objects and people, which eventually learns into rebellion, oppression and rebellion. Where is the minus coming from? It is coming from notion of I. That's its cause. Its cause is actually an I. If you think I am this body, then you think these people are my people. And why are they behaving like that? And where is that coming from? Maya. It's coming from Maya. Yeah. So you can always address it in two ways. One, you address it at the symptom level, that you deal with the effect of Maya, and you say, share, 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 learn to share. That's what we teach children. We teach children sharing, because that's dealing with that minus issue. Share your pencils. Of course, now they can't share anything because of COVID, but otherwise we generally say share your pencils. But now they cannot share pencils. It's not allowed. Yeah, but we say share pencils. When we grew up, we share food. Now you're not allowed to share food because that chap will have a peanut allergy and have some issue will happen to him, and so we cannot share food either. So when I talk to Balvihar, this concept of sharing is very hard to tell because you're not allowed to share anything now. Legally, you're not allowed to share, and COVID, you're not allowed to share. It's a big problem, actually. But sharing is the first symptom of breaking the concept of minus. That this is not mine, it is communal. That's why when you live in communities, it helps to break this notion down. When you're part of a community, part of a group, then nothing remains with an individual. Yeah? And then is, can be shared by the community. This breaks down the concept of minus. This is mine and mine alone. No, others can also use. Some cultures have got this very strong, actually. Aboriginal culture, traditional Aboriginal culture has got no concept of possession, actually. That's why they said, whoever wants to use the land can use the land. Yeah. Then another culture came and said, no, we are now owning the land. And if we own the land, you're not allowed to use it. Then there's a big problem. Because the cultures had different ways of looking at things. So this is a big problem. But their traditional concept was, actually, no, if it's there, you can use it. And then when you're finished with it, just leave it. Leave it and go. There are some places that they're trying to revive this type of communal culture. It's very nice. It's a nice thing. It helps us give up this notion of possessiveness. That's how you can approach it at that level. At the other level of identification, you have to identify with something higher. You have to move your identification up. So the lowest identification is always the grossest. Body is the grossest. Then from body, you try to identify with mind. And then with mind, you try to identify with intellect. Yeah? And with the intellect, you should go to what's called your swabhava or prakriti. And then you should eventually go to the Atma only. It's the highest. But sometimes we cannot go all the way to the Atma. It's hard. So then give up identification with body, identify with mind. I read it's a very classic book. Well, I didn't read it, but I read a lot of the summaries and synopsis. It's called, you would have heard it, Huckleberry Finn. The Tales of Huckleberry Finn Adventures. It's a great American classic, apparently. I was looking through all these reviews and reading all these notes on it. And what's interesting, it's set before abolition. That means before slavery was given up. Black people had a very, very bad position in that society, very bad. And so he is a white boy and he befriends a black slave. And they're both trying to escape their circumstances, which are quite bad. And the journey of it is that the boy has to give up these preconceived notions he has over color, because he feels bad for assisting this black man into freedom, because he's taught that he will go to hell if he frees a slave. He was taught that he will go to hell if he frees a slave, and all the slaves were black. Yeah. But you eventually see, actually, the slave is so noble and so humane that that wins the boy over, and eventually the boy works with the slave and he helps him gain his freedom. There's a lot of loyalty there. Now, if you see that, the boy has identified with human values, friendship, decency to human beings, versus identification with body and skin. Because if you identify with body and skin, then you have to say, I am white, you are black, I cannot treat you like this. But now his identification is with concept of equal rights for humanity. So this person has been friendly to me, has assisted me, I should also assist them back. This is how you start moving up. Yeah. For us, we may not have such a big issue with color, but we still do actually. Even in our community, there's still concepts of caste, and there's concepts of various other things that we become very fixed on. Yeah. But we sometimes get fixed on status and wealth. Status and wealth is something we identify. And we say, if these people don't belong to the same status and wealth, don't marry them, don't hang out with them, You see all these things will come out when your children want to marry someone. Then you will see all these prejudices end up coming out. That's when a lot of identifications come out. You say, yeah, I have friends in the office that are like that. I have friends here that are like that. I have friends here that are like that. But when it comes to your children getting married, you watch all these things. They tend to erupt within people. That shows that they were sitting there. They were just waiting to come out. Yeah. And so identification with the higher means you go from body, mind, intellect. Intellect is where the seat of higher values are there in the intellect. Yeah. This is how you start breaking the identification. Sometimes we can't go from strong body identification to pure Atma. It's too much. It's too much. The jump is too far. So gradually work yourself up. That's why, a simple way, as a seeker, as a person, then if you can shift your identification from what you produce to how you produce, that's a big change in thinking. Because what you produce will be very gross and tangible, lower identification. How productive were you today? Oh, I smashed out all these emails. Okay, very good. Smashing emails, very nice. Yeah. I got through my to-do list. Knocked it all off. Yeah, and we feel very happy. It's a good day. I'm successful. Why? I got through my to-do list, smashed out my emails, whatever handyman chores had to be done was done. Took the kids to the park, done. Did my exercise, done. Did my reading, done. Done. This is identification with things that are done. Now the question is, with what attitude and intention did you do them? If it were done rush, you may have smashed it out, and you feel very tired and exhausted. But if you did it cheerfully, if you did it selflessly, yeah, selfless of the intellect, cheerful of the mind, with a sense of cheerful, peaceful, composed, enjoyed it. If you're going to finally agree to do something, you may as well do it happily. I spoke to one newly married bride once. It was very funny. And she was complaining that her in-laws had got such high expectations that she has to come to the house every week and she didn't have dinner with them and all that type of stuff. And I said, you don't understand. You go once a week. Many people have to live with their in-laws for many months, She complained, going once a week to this in-laws house. And she said, they keep asking me to come. So I went. And they asked me to go, this puja, that puja, every puja they have to come for. So she goes, right? I said, okay. She said, isn't it enough that I went? And I said, when you go, what is your attitude? Sure. Well, not very happy. So I just sit in the corner and just kind of grumpy mood, but she just sits in the corner and just waits for it to be over. I said, do you think this is what these people want? To bring your sour face into their house, new daughter-in-law, with such sour expression, sitting in their house, waiting for puja to be over, and then just wants to leave. Yeah? This is not what people want in family life. Your attitude is most important. So if you're going to do something, then you may as well do it properly. You're going all the way to her house, then let's be happy. She refused to have a conversation with the mother-in-law. How are you? Fine, finish. That's it. What type of family life is this? You have to talk. If you're going to do something, do it properly. Therefore, if you shift, a simple shift is shifting from what you're doing to how you are doing. That's a change in identification, because you're now valuing how. The how is based on intellectual, intention, emotional attitude. That's the how. Is your intention selfless? And is your attitude cheerful, positive, hopeful, encouraging? That's the how. The what is, what did you finish? That's the task. That's physical. Seeing in-laws, tick, done. Unhappy with in-laws, tick, also done. Even when you eat, you should pay attention to food. Some people, they're looking in front of a computer and just shoveling food into their mouth. But this is not how you should eat also. The wrong way. And the person who made the food feels like, what is happening over here? They will look at that person and say, what is happening? You're just taking that and shoveling it into your mouth? Then they'll gently find, say, you want more of this? You want more of that? Is it tasting good? Very nice, very good. The person who cooks doesn't appreciate it. The person who ate doesn't appreciate it. No one appreciates it. How you do it is as important as what you do. In fact, as you get older, the how is more important than the what. You should realize that, because the what eventually becomes irrelevant. As you get older, you should realize this. Earning money is not that exciting. Why? There's always some bills to pay. Money comes, money goes. Why get excited about it? 25-year-old man will get very excited about his first paycheck. When you're 55 years old, you shouldn't be that excited about a paycheck, because you know most of it is dissolved only. It's gone. Before it even reaches you, it's dissolved. It's dissolved in mortgage, insurance, kids' education, health. This is gone. So what's it get excited? How you do it should become more important. Yeah. So this is a shift. Okay, now we have looked at various aspects of Maya. We have got down to which number? 7. We'll take up 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, next week. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, Hari Om, you have something to practice. Practice focusing on how this week, not on what. Okay. Hari Om, you can all